Milk. It's how you get some of life's greatest foods. Ice cream, yogurt, cheese, sour cream. Apologies to my lactose intolerant friends in the crowd, but if you can name an amazing dish, it's probably got some type of milk in it. While milk is generally glorified, especially by those Got Milk commercials we all watched growing up, today we will be talking about how milk may not be so great after all. Hey everyone, my name is Jerica Walters, and today we will be talking about how milk could possibly be detrimental to our health, specifically when related to something called folate. Now you're probably thinking, hey Jerica, I thought milk was great for bone strength and helping me grow big and strong. To that I say, hold your horses. Let's get you all a visual aid. Now it's time for some background. This is folic acid. Folic acid is very important for proper fetal development when in the womb. However, it is also equally important for DNA production at all ages. Cerebral Folate Deficiency syndrome occurs when antibodies, like the one on your screen, attack our folate receptors and prevent the body from absorbing folate and using it throughout the body. You may be thinking, how does this relate back to milk? Well, I'm glad you asked. In people with Cerebral Folate Deficiency syndrome, or CFD, their diagnoses tend to occur when switching from drinking their mother's milk to cow's milk. Some symptoms include delayed motor development, slow head growth, and epilepsy. Researchers have hypothesized that when babies begin drinking cow's milk, the body has an immune response to the folate receptors in that cow's milk. If this is true, then the antibodies could be blocking folate transport and ultimately cause CFD. To test this hypothesis, researchers gathered two groups of children with CFD. 12 of these children were placed on a milk-free diet as the experimental group, and the other 12 children were placed on a normal diet containing milk as the control group. To determine whether or not milk in the child's diet made a difference, the amount of folate antibody was measured by sampling their cerebrospinal fluid. The independent variable is the presence or absence of milk in the child's diet, while the dependent variable is the amount of blocking antibodies in the cerebrospinal fluid. The results of this study can be seen in the figure. The y-axis shows the amount of folate-blocking antibodies, while the x-axis shows the passage of time for the graph. This graph shows the result of the 12 children that were placed on a milk-free diet. Each of these lines represents one child in the study. As you can see, when placed on a milk-free diet for 6 months, all children had a decrease in the concentration of blocking antibodies in their cerebrospinal fluid. Then, after these 6 months, the children had milk reintroduced to their diet, and you can see that all children had an increase in the amount of folate-blocking antibodies. At the top of this figure, there is a bar graph that shows the means of each sampling. The x and the y-axis are the same as in the line graph. The average concentration of blocking antibody for the initial sample was about 3 picomoles per milliliter of serum. As you can see, there is a significant decrease in the average amount of blocking antibodies after 6 months on a milk-free diet, with an average of about 0.5 picomoles per milliliter of serum. Data with a p-value of less than 0.05 is statistically significant. Since this data has a p-value of 0.02, we know that this data is statistically significant. The last bar shows the average amount of antibodies after children had milk reintroduced to their diet. After being reintroduced to milk, there was an average concentration of about 5.2 picomoles per milliliter of serum. When compared to the concentration in the milk-free diet, there is a p-value of 0.013, which also makes this data statistically significant. On this graph, you can see the 12 children that kept milk in their diet. Once again, the x and the y-axis are the same, and each line represents one child. Every child had their initial concentration of antibody measured. As seen on the bar graph, there was an average of about 1 picomole per milliliter of serum. After a 24-month period on a diet containing milk, 11 out of the 12 children had an increase in the concentration of antibodies, with an average concentration of 3 picomoles per milliliter of serum. This is statistically significant difference when compared to the initial measurement with a p-value of 0.001. So enough with that graph and all those fancy numbers. What does this all actually mean? After looking at that figure, you may think it's not the best idea to drink cow's milk, but don't go spiraling. I can assure all of you that those milk commercials were not lying. Remember, this study was only done in children that have CFD, so if you don't have CFD, then you can keep eating your ice cream. Additionally, because only 12 patients were used in each group, We cannot definitively say that drinking cow's milk can cause cerebral folate deficiency, but it is something that could be studied more in the future to prevent future disease onset. Additionally, while this study does show the amount of blocking antibodies increases when drinking milk, it does not show the actual concentration of folate itself in the body. Therefore, even though the concentration of antibodies against folate is high, the body could still be getting enough folate and essentially be unaffected. However, this experiment could show that drinking milk when you have CFD may not be the best idea. Studies like this should definitely be conducted again with larger test groups and measure the folate concentration in the body. In conclusion, cow's milk still definitely has a variety of health benefits, and this study is not concrete proof to stop consumption of it. In the future, studies could be conducted in order to further investigate the relationship between CFD and drinking cow's milk. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, continue to enjoy your dairy. I know I will. Thanks for listening.